Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome everyone to today's Explainer. We are looking at a truly transformative period for the city of Josephine right now. Specifically, we're going to unpack the major updates from June and July of 2026. Now, if you've been following the city's trajectory at all, you know that Josephine is managing some absolutely explosive growth. But, growth without a plan is just chaos. So today, we're going to examine how the city is actively steering that expansion, making real-time decisions that will literally shape the physical and economic landscape of the community for decades to come.
Here is a quick roadmap for what we're covering today. First, defining smart growth. Then, council and citizen voices. Next, the MDD's quest for a grocer. After that, we'll look at streamlining planning and zoning. And finally, we'll wrap up with the real estate impact ahead.
All right, Section 1, defining smart growth and how to maximize limited land.
So the June 8th City Council meeting centered around a really important core philosophy for the city's future. And I want you to think about this question for a second. How does a rapidly growing city actually maximize its limited land and tax dollars? I mean, when a city has finite acreage, literally every single half-acre matters. Do you want a car wash on that prime corner, or do you want something that generates significantly more revenue? That is the exact dilemma the Josephine City Council is wrestling with right now.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact mindset from that June 8th meeting. The prevailing sentiment was crystal clear. The city wants to maximize business revenue per acre. They are actively prioritizing developments like strip centers and dense retail over those land-heavy, low-yield projects. Why? Well, because it grabs way more tax dollars for the city without chewing up precious land. This philosophy is absolutely the foundation of what they're calling smart growth.
Moving on to Section 2, council and citizen voices, and managing immediate pressures.
Having a smart growth philosophy is amazing in theory, right? But how does it actually hold up against immediate, real-world pressures? If we look at the July 13th City Council meeting, it is fascinating. On one side, we have these major developer requests, specifically the RR MUD 2A and a planned development rezoning request over at 520 Milton Street. But on the flip side, we're seeing intense scrutiny from both citizens and the council. For instance, citizens were publicly raising concerns about deficient and incomplete plat applications for the MUD, even pointing out that Hunt County had previously denied it. So we are really seeing the smart growth vetting process in full action here, this intense push and pull between proposed developments and rigorous community standards.
Take the 520 Milton Street project as a prime example of this. This rezoning request from local retail to a planned development was postponed not once but twice. And it wasn't just arbitrary bureaucratic red tape. It was delayed specifically to ensure that proper fire protection provisions were in place. This actually proves that the council is totally willing to pump the brakes and pause development to prioritize safety and get things right, rather than just rubber stamping every new project that comes across their desk.
All right, Section 3, the MDD's quest for a grocer.
So looking at updates from the June and July meetings, the Municipal Development District, which is the body tasked with driving economic development in Josephine, is in what we can essentially call the holding pattern. The MDD discovered a really interesting legal quirk. Because the district was officially created after the city had already set its current budget year back in October of 2025, they legally cannot expend any funds right now. They are completely locked out of spending until the brand new budget cycle kicks in this coming October 2026.
But here's the thing. Once that budget unlocks, they plan to aggressively deploy those funds. The proposed priorities are incredibly focused. A massive 70% of their budget is slated directly for development projects and incentives to actively bring businesses into the city. Only 15% is set aside for operations and 15% for reserves. So they are very clearly gearing up for a major economic push. And what is the absolute biggest target for that 70%? Well, as they flat out stated in their June meeting, their numero uno priority is securing a grocery store. Now, obviously, that's a highly relatable goal for anyone living there, but from a purely economic standpoint, a grocery store is the ultimate magnet. It acts as a central anchor that naturally attracts a whole cluster of other retail and service businesses right around it. It's a total game changer.
So what exactly is the MDD doing while they wait for their funding to unlock? They are heavily focused on pre-marketing. They are actively targeting highly traveled properties along the FM16 corridor, looking at both city land and the extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ. They're also hammering out an interlocal agreement with the city to establish a dedicated MDD website just to market available land. Plus, they're collaborating with Workforce Solutions in Greenville to tap into regional economic development resources for both Hunt and Collin counties. Basically, they are laying all the groundwork right now so they can hit the ground sprinting in October.
Section 4. Streamlining Planning and Zoning.
During a joint work session back in June, the City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission discussed how they're updating the city's actual rulebook to handle all of this incoming development. A huge part of this is the new Unified Development Code, or UDC. Let's demystify this bureaucracy for a second. The UDC is not some giant list of new laws meant to restrict growth. It's simply a consolidation. It takes all the existing scattered zoning and subdivision ordinances and puts them into a single, easy-to-read living document. This makes the rules vastly clearer and more consistent for both home builders and commercial developers who actually want to invest in Josephine.
Let's move to and see how this builds into day-to-day operations. Because no matter how streamlined the code gets, the city still has to follow incredibly strict legal steps for any zoning changes. Step 1 is scheduling a public hearing. Step 2 requires sending written notice to all property owners within 200 feet of the proposed change. And only then can you proceed to Step 3, which is holding the actual hearing.
Because if you skip just one step, the entire system stops. And we saw this exact scenario play out on July 6th. The Planning and Zoning Commission actually had to cancel a scheduled public hearing. Why? Well, they discovered that not all property owners within that required 200-foot radius had received their written notifications. It's a delay for sure, but it strongly emphasizes the city's strict adherence to legal transparency and making absolutely sure property owners' rights are protected.
And finally, Section 5. Real Estate Impact Ahead.
We've talked a lot about philosophy and budgets and rulebooks, but the crucial point is, what does all this actually mean for the physical community? Looking at the Josephine development horizon, we see a real mix of pauses and progress. This summer, the massive wildflower development by D.R. Horton saw its initial earthwork delayed as they pushed out their construction start. But looking ahead, October 2026 is going to be a massive milestone when that MDD budget finally unlocks, allowing them to start aggressively recruiting that grocery store. And looking slightly further out to summer 2027, the new Sonic convenience store at Barry and FM6, which is currently under construction, is slated to open its doors.
The landscape of Josephine is literally changing month by month. The city is constantly balancing safety, legal rigor, and this very urgent desire for commercial revenue. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought today. With the MDD budget unlocking in just a few short months, what kind of development do you most want to see in Josephine? Thank you so much for watching this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on how these smart growth strategies unfold in the coming year.